So last week I talked about how I wanted to make a game kind of based off of puzzles. I decided that this week it'd probably be more story based because my plan is to create a game that's kind of similar to Stanley Parable because I am going to have the starting point be the character walking into a house and then the door gets shut and locked behind them and they can't leave the room. So pretty much when you first walk in, there's going to be two doors that you choose from. Um, and depending on which door you choose, you end up in different places. So the first option would be the living room. The living room, you would have to go around and figure out what you had to do in the room before you can move on. So there's going to be like vague descriptions. So for example, prepare the house for the guests or something like that. So then around the living room, there would be things that needed to get done, like fixing the picture that fell off the wall or turning the TV to the right music channel. Um, Also, maybe putting the phone back on the receiver and then having it ring, and then that offering another clue for future rooms. So once you figure out what you had to do in the living room, you'd have two doors that you could go through that would be now unlocked. So for example, the bathroom or the office, and the same kind of thing happened in those rooms. So for example, the bathroom, you would have to like refill the toilet paper or take a shower or light a candle, anything like that, and then two other doors would open, leaving you with two more options. So with these options, I'm thinking of having it be kind of where you have to start the game over. So the first option would be you go to the attic as one of the doors. So you'd go through the attic and you end up falling to the floor. So then you die and you'd have to start the game over. So then the next one would be the sauna. So then you would get locked in there and die from overheating. So there might be little doors that end up as dead ends, and then you have to start the game over. You start back in the hallway where you choose, the living room or the other option, which I'll get into later. So the other option off of what was it? The living room was the office. So in the office, I'd say maybe you had to get out the games like cards or decorations, and then you'd have the two different doors. And each room you would collect things that would be used for other rooms. So, for example, you'd collect the decorations and you would need to put them up in a different room, but you wouldn't know which room that was until later on. So you can access all the rooms until they're completed, but once they are completed, they'd be shut and locked, and you can't move on until everything's finished. So if you passed into the kitchen, completed the kitchen, and went into the backyard or something, and you needed the decorations from the office, you'd have to wait till you hung those up before you could go on. So after you left the office, the two doors would be leading to downstairs or to the bedroom. And you'd have to do certain things, like in the bedroom, you'd have to make the bed and maybe shut off the TV. But before you could shut off the TV, you'd have to play like a mini game of maybe Mario Brothers, because we all know that's my favorite game. And then downstairs, you would have to turn on the lights and put the blankets away. But if the light wasn't turned on, you would trip and fall over, and you'd end up having to start the game over. So anyways, that is kind of the basic gist of my game. I also came up with other options that led to different things. So in option 2, the second door that you could choose at the beginning, you'd go to the kitchen and you'd have to choose like making the proper grocery list for the party and maybe turn the ice maker on. And then once you did that, you could either choose the garage or the backyard. And from the garage, you would go, after you figured out what you had to do in that room, it would lead to the grocery store, and you'd have to talk to the correct people or go to the specific registers. So pretty much each screen, you would have to figure out what was needed, and it'd be kind of like a little puzzle. And it's an infinite amount of ways to play the game because you could choose different doors and you'd have multiple different endings. And so if you didn't choose a grocery store, you could go to the front yard and do things there. And then also from the kitchen, you could choose to go to the shed or actually, I'm sorry, from the kitchen it would go to the backyard, and from the backyard it would be the shed, but the shed would be like a loophole where you would have having to start the game over, so because you'd have to get the folding chairs out, but you'd have to move something out of the way first, and it had to be the right object or else it would fall over and knock you out, and you'd have to start the game over. Or you could choose to go through the gate, but if you walk out of the gate, you get hit by a car, and so you'd have to start the game over. So that's kind of my game idea right now. It's kind of got some issues that I need to work out, but it seems kind of fun to me, so tell me what you guys think. Thank you.